The last project that I wanted to show you tonight is my most recent book. It's called Boarding House. During the time I worked on the Shadow Chamber project, I came across the boarding house. There wasn't that much of a distance between the boarding house building and the Shadow Chamber building. The boarding house building was on the other side of a mine dump from where the Shadow Chamber building was. There was quite a difference in architecture in some ways between the boarding house building and the Shadow Chamber building. The boarding house building, unlike the Shadow Chamber building, was a big empty space. It was like a big gymnasium, a big warehouse. It's probably something you can find in one of the abandoned buildings in Rochester. It's like a big open space. That's what it was built for. It was a warehouse for the mines where they kept ropes, explosives, hooks, gear, anything related to the mine, the gold mine that was that was developed at the turn of the last century. Well, not the 1900s. Now, sometime, I think in the late 90s or so, I'm not sure the obvious date, people started to go into this building and live. You know, in South Africa, you know, it's not America. South Africa is more or less an African country in many ways, and people have a hard time living and surviving and habitating and keeping a roof on their head. So there's a lot of people who just need to find a place that's dry, basically, maybe even safe. Wouldn't call this place safe, but it was dry at least. And during this period, late 90s, people started to move into this place and live or habitate. This was the cover to the book. The name of the photograph is called Boarding House. You can see the most important thing in this picture is this dog. And that dog looks at me with that white eye. See that white eye? See that white eye? See those eyes over here? Ties the whole picture together when that mouth opens and those eyes go white. So people always ask me, because I'll probably get this question, I'll stop the question now. They asked me two questions. One, did I create this place? And the other question is this real? Well, real is a very difficult word. Real is probably the most difficult word that we deal with. What is reality? Can anybody tell me anything about this word? I don't know very much about this word. I can't even begin to understand it. So I have to tell you, I really cannot answer this question. Well, the other question, did I create this thing? Of course I created it. If I didn't exist, this wouldn't exist. This was one of the early photographs I took in this place. Girl in white dress. And if you look over here, see that? M-E spells me. In a way, that's the essence of the book. It's about me. This is another early picture. It was taken right after New Year's. There would have been a fight there. Somebody was stabbed to death in the front here. It was a big fight. Christmas tree got knocked over and wasn't too happy, or maybe was happy for a while. See that? That's pretty difficult. I wonder what that's down there. I wonder if there's a relationship between that, maybe even that. It's a one-shot photograph. You get it or you don't get it. Mr. Cat's not waiting around. Here's Mr. Dog with his ear up. That's when the picture comes together. Ear up, relates back to here, relates back to here. We'll let out these mouths here. Mouth 1, mouth 2, mouth 3, mouth 4. There was this motif here, I guess you could call it. just when you walked in the door. Nobody was allowed to touch it. The boss of the boarding house was a big, strong man, at least 3-4 times my size. I think if a truck went into him, the truck would be broken. He was strong, and when he said, don't touch anything, or don't do this, or don't do that, you didn't do it, because you probably wouldn't last very much longer if you decided to disobey him. This was his motif. The name of the picture is called pathos. And pathos is a very important word. It's something we don't like to think about. Pathos means internal pain, internal suffering. It's something we carry around, I would think, all the time. Something that's with us all the time. It's a sense of sadness. And I think this picture exemplifies that. Ghost room. In the olden days back there, they used to stick some of the workers who stole or didn't work, and they stuck them back there, and there was all sorts of rumors or talk or whatever it is. That people, there were ghosts, dead workers, that there was all sorts of people who died back there, and nobody ever wanted to go back there. Scavenging. Grabbed. This man was fleeing from the law. This man supposedly had strangled 2 young girls with those hands. See those hands, see that mouth. So when the picture comes together. Cut loose. See the feet, see this, see that. This was, they had church services behind this. They had a black church behind here, and on the weekends, there were a lot of people singing and dancing. You could hear them praying and whatever. There's Mr. Rat. Sliced. When you grab the tail, it breaks. If the tail didn't break, this lizard probably would be extinct. That's how the lizard gets away. That's how he saves himself. Concealed. See, look at this. Boom. You see that? See that? See that? See that? See that head there? See that head? Something over here, something down there. It's like faster than you can blink, 1/500th of a second. Celebration. Targets. In this place, there are a lot of guns. I don't know if you've, I guess in this country you have a sort of similar problem that we have in South Africa. There's a lot of guns all over the place. But in South Africa, I guess here in these, you have a lot of this problem. I haven't lived here in a long time. But there are guns all over the place, and people use them a lot. It's quite a violent culture. In this place, in the boarding house, the people who had the guns used to have target practice with these targets. You know, if you're in a place like this, and I guess so many of the other places I've been over the years, you sort of inherently, instinctively develop an understanding for yourself of human nature. This boy's bird had just been strangled by his friend over here. And you can see the interesting relationship between the feathers and the accordion. And this was the bottom floor of this building, and this person had been put in chains by the boss of this place because he had tried to steal his TV. I don't know what happened to him. I wouldn't want to figure out what happened to him. This one is, this guy was sleeping over here. Because most of the people in South Africa who can't find work, if they can find work, do security work at night. And so during the day, a lot of people tried to sleep. And this guy was sleeping, and somehow or another that dog got in there. These are three brothers. These three brothers didn't go anywhere without each other. So they went to the bathroom together, they went to eat together, they slept together. They just sort of followed each other around. And I named this picture Three Hands. There's their pet rooster up here. Retreat. Washing line. Bite. I had to take him to the hospital. Thought he was so smart. Exhaustion. Here's one of these other guys who was sleeping all the time. See that little thing there, that tooth, that holds the whole picture together, that white tooth. He was sleeping, he worked at night. This guy was obsessed with 9/11 here in America. Every time I saw him, he kept saying 9/11, 9/11, 9/11. And this is a drawing behind his bed. Effigy. One of the rules of the boarding house was that you couldn't the windows had to always be kept shut, and you weren't allowed to look out the window. So this was on one of the windows. This was a newly married couple who slept up here. It's a nice, sharp photograph. This is the last one. Fragments. There were a lot of very nice people in this place. And this was one of the young men who was really a nice young boy. I think he was like 16, 17, 18 years old. And he was very helpful to me. He would carry my bag. If I needed something like, I don't know what, a Coke, he would go out and get a Coke. Then I heard that, or he heard, and it was conveyed to me later on, that he had to leave the boarding house. I'm not quite clear. I never could get to the bottom of it. Why did he want to leave the boarding house, or why were they forcing him out of the boarding house? I don't know why. One day I came to the boarding house and I asked where this man was, this young boy, where he was. And they said, unfortunately, sir, he committed suicide.